I'm Chief Petty Officer Herb Josie. This week on Navy Marine Corps News, sailors around the fleet pitch in to help their communities in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King. Deployed sailors will get a chance to watch the Super Bowl at sea. And for one Marine mom, coming home means double duty times 2. Join me and Corporal Christiana Halsey for these stories and more on Navy Marine Corps News. This week on Navy Marine Corps News, sailors around the fleet pitch in to help their communities in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King. Deployed sailors will get a chance to watch the Super Bowl at sea. And for one Marine mom, coming home means double duty times 2. Join us for these stories and more next on Navy Marine Corps News. Welcome to Navy Marine Corps News. I'm Chief Petty Officer Herb Josie.
And I'm Corporal Christiana Halsey. Monday, January 16th, Americans across the nation celebrated Martin Luther King's birthday with memorial services and ceremonies.
Sailors and Marines also honored Dr. King, but in a different way. Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Mike Boorda encouraged them to remember the civil rights leader in a manner that truly reflected Dr. King's accomplishments. He asked them to spend time helping others. This was a day of celebration in Navy communities around the world, a day when sailors and Marines practiced what Dr. King preached. Sailors and Marines from Pearl Harbor marched with their community through downtown Honolulu in a spirited tribute to Dr. King. For MU-3 Martin McClure, just being able to represent the Navy and support the community on this day means a lot. He says if not for Dr. King and
for what he fought for, I wouldn't be in the Navy today, and I wouldn't be standing doing this parade today, in which I enjoy doing.
At a press conference in Hawaii, Dr. King's son praised the Navy's efforts to reach out to the community on this King holiday.
If we can begin that process during this particular period, but not end it, begin it, then and carry it on throughout a lifetime, then we'll have a better world. So I commend the Admiral and President and everyone who's responsible for creating this opportunity.
In Washington, D.C., sailors at the Bureau of Naval Personnel also had the spirit of community involvement. They bagged up lunches and delivered them to homeless people in parks downtown. Sailors stationed aboard USS Barry in Norfolk joined children from Tidewater Park Elementary School there in a singing, reading tribute to Dr. King.
I love the kids. They're great. Our intentions are just to help them to become better people, to understand that as a race, no race is superior to the other, and we all need to get along and work well with each other. And they're great kids.
And he said the Barry sailors were role models to these kids from a world where Dr. King's dream has largely become reality.
It's not just a black-white thing, and as far as our ship goes, it's been well prepared in the getting together of all races, not only white, black, but Hispanics and Asians. Our crew members work close with each other, and with that camaraderie, we try to strive to keep peace and harmony among ourselves, as well as throughout the world. So it ties in with exactly what his dream was.
Today, the dream lives on. The dream of equality lives within all of us. Be we black or white, male or female, the dream lives on.
If you just got your leave and earnings statement, you may have noticed that the deduction for the Navy home assessment is still 50 cents. And that's a surprise because the automatic deduction was supposed to go up to $1 January 1st. Congress had approved the plan to increase our contribution by 50 cents each year until it became $2. That was before the Chief of Naval Operations got involved. Admiral Mike Boorda led the Navy's fight to keep the deduction at 50 cents for now. That 50 cents supports the Armed Forces Retirement Homes, the Naval Home in Gulfport, Mississippi, and the Soldiers and Airmen's Home in Washington, D.C.
Before you take money away from people, you ought to talk to them, and you ought to be sure it's necessary. In this case, we're not sure it's necessary, and I'm glad we were able to make that case.
The homes cost $59 million a year to operate. DoD officials are looking for a way to cover those costs without dipping into the home's trust fund or raising the sailors' and Marines' contribution. Now, when you and I think of automatic pay deductions, we probably think of things like voluntary allotments established to pay for a car or contribute to charity, or perhaps purchase savings bonds.
Well, now there's a new kind of allotment. A new law lets creditors collect debts from service members with delinquent bills by using involuntary allotments. Before, businesses couldn't garnish your wages if you were delinquent. However, Congress has ordered a change in Defense Department regulations. Now creditors can take the money right out of your paycheck if they get a judgment against you proving you owe them. But this doesn't happen overnight, and there are safeguards for service members.
It's not like it's open season on the sailors that are in debt, because the creditors are required to follow due process. So the sailors or service members do have a large degree of protection.
That protection includes such safeguards as an extended response time for members who are overseas, deployed or on a classified assignment, and limiting the maximum amount taken for an involuntary allotment to 25% of a member's take-home pay.
It's a matter of balance. You know, on the one hand, the idea is to repay the debt in a reasonable amount of time, but on the other, to make sure that service members have enough money left in their pay to meet the necessities of life.
They are. Navy is, in fact, again, looking out for the interests of its military members, and it is handled primarily at the Defense Finance Center, who is well staffed legally to, again, review every single petition or judgment and to communicate back and forth with the commanding officer and to the member, and to receive those appeals if the member feels that he or she is unjustly rendered this judgment.
Not only do sailors and Marines have the right to appeal, but if operations keep service members from attending the court proceedings, the service member's CO can stop the allotment.
If, in fact, the commanding officer certifies that the member was not available for the court appearance, DFAS would not start a judgment or start a garnishment of wages against the member.
The new involuntary indebtedness allotment is DoD-wide and applies to all services. For more information, see your Command Legal Assistance Office.
And of course, the best way to stay out of that kind of allotment and avoid financial trouble is, of course, to stay out of financial trouble in the first place. And we'll show you how to do that with some news you can use when we come back.
And for some sailors, being out to sea doesn't mean they'll have to miss the Super Bowl.
We'll be right back.
I guarantee it. Lincoln, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're looking for an executive position. Yeah, but what about college?
Well, I've done a lot of reading and studying, sort of on my own.
On your own. Look, Lincoln, I know you're a smart guy. You know you're a smart guy. You ain't going nowhere without that sheepskin, fella.
There you are, an intelligent human being, but no college credit to prove it. Make learning pay. Learn about CLEP, the college-level examination program.
Lincoln, you got a chauffeur's license?
You can take CLEP tests at your local college and earn college credit for what you've already learned on your own.
Look, you're not really what we call executive material. We'll call if you get something.
Contact your local education officer and make learning pay.
Welcome back to Navy Marine Corps News. Before the break, we told you how creditors can garnish your wages if you don't pay your bills.
Well, you can avoid that unnecessary hassle by following a few basic rules when it comes to managing your personal finances. Petty Officer Bill Miles has more.
With all the businesses out there targeting young military members, no wonder many end up in financial trouble. If this is you, the first thing you should do is find help.
The earlier they can come to counseling, to whoever they go, whether they go to their command financial specialist or they go to a budget counselor at Family Services or to a counselor at Navy Marine Corps Relief, the earlier they can get to it, the better chance we have of helping the service member solve that problem.
One of those helpers is Gunnery Sergeant James O'Keefe.
In general, what are the areas that young people get in trouble with financially?
Well, there's a real mix. We find with the junior service member that they find a lot of difficulty when dealing in areas of telephone bills, when they're talking about purchasing food, when we're talking about the use of credit in these areas, especially when we're talking about the first time buying of a car.
These are just a few of the areas where sailors and Marines should spend their money carefully. And most financial experts agree the best way to keep track of your money and to stay out of trouble is with a budget.
A lot of people have a budget up here in their head, not written down on paper. Most people live that way. You know what your commitments are, and you know that you have to allocate money for that. But what we like to do is give you something concrete to hold on to.
Officials say the top 5 reasons you should budget your money are to get the maximum benefits from your income, avoid wasting money, reduce money worries and frustrations, have money for emergencies, and to plan savings. But sometimes it doesn't matter if you have a budget or not. Emergencies do occur, and there may not be enough money to go around.
When a service member finds he doesn't have the money to pay his bills, what should he do?
This is a very important point. If I cannot make a payment, my first stop should be contacting the creditor, letting them know what has happened and what I can do to assist in the problem.
You should also offer to pay something, no matter how small, and document who you talked to and when.
Did you want to go ahead and try this one? I can open the other.
All this information from professionals is great, but this petty officer probably has the best advice.
Pay your bills on time and make sure you don't buy more than you can afford to pay, because, like I said, in the long run, it's going to come back on you sooner or later.
For Navy Marine Corps News, I'm Petty Officer Bill Miles.
And remember, if you need help keeping your finances in order, there are plenty of places that you can turn to.
Yeah, you can see your command financial counselor or stop by the Family Service Center or the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society and talk to one of their representatives. They can help anyone, you especially, set up a budget and train you how to keep out of financial hot water.
Well, keeping out of hot water is a good message, especially if you're aboard ship.
Being prepared for any emergency is a way of life for sailors aboard ship. A fire or any other emergency can turn into a deadly situation in minutes.
That's why aboard USS Rainier, one group of sailors trains every day to ensure they'll be ready if called upon. Petty Officer Ron Flanders reports.
Lieutenant Chris Anderson is the damage control assistant aboard USS Rainier. And ultimately, if there's a fire aboard Rainier, how well he's done his job could determine the fate of the entire ship. That's why he takes extra time out at sea preparing his quick response firefighting team or flying squad.
The sea trials give us the opportunity to get training like this done. We can't get this kind of training done in port because we have other drills going on, work being conducted on the spaces. But out here, away from the builders, it's just us and the ship. Get to play our games.
One of those games is a daily fire drill that tests how quickly and effectively the team can respond to a fire. The smoke may not be real, and this SK-2 waving the red flags hardly resembles a fire, but the drills work. On board an underway replenishment ship like the Rainier, any possibility of a fire is taken very seriously.
It's probably one of the most important things there is underway, because being a ship of this size with all the fuel, if one thing goes, the whole ship can go. And that's a lot of people to be lost, and I think our job is one of the most important jobs on the ship.
After we get it overhauled, we get back out to the center of space.
It's a job that's gender neutral on Rainier. As the nozzleman on one of the flying squad's 2 fire hoses, Hull Technician 3rd Class Jennifer Freeborn is an integral part of the team.
Oh, I feel great about it. I like being on the flying squad. It's kind of a new experience for me, but it's kind of neat, thinking, wow, we might save all these people's lives.
Despite the fact that many Rainier Flying Squad members don't have a lot of fleet experience, Lieutenant Anderson and his highly trained group of damage control experts know that they can do the job if there's a shipboard fire that needs putting out. Petty Officer Ron Flanders on board USS Rainier.
Training for fires aboard ships is serious stuff, but something else shipboard sailors certainly take seriously is once again making its way to the fleet.
Does it have anything to do with this?
No. This. We're talking about the Super Bowl, football, of course, All-American. This is the 4th year that the big game will make its way out to ships underway. And Petty Officer Mark Kane reports sailors will still get a chance to watch the big game, even though they're at sea.
The Super Bowl. This year, the San Francisco 49ers and the underdog San Diego Chargers. are heading to Miami for the first all-California Super Bowl. But the hype goes far beyond the players or the teams, and everyone seems to have their favorites.
San Francisco 49ers couldn't possibly be a doubt. It's the Red Barn offense, folks.
The San Francisco 49ers going to win the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl? Well, I don't think there's much of a question there.
San Diego Chargers.
Natron's going to run over anybody that gets in his way.
Means just going to wipe them all the way down the road.
The Niners cannot deal with Natron Means.
Okay, we get your point. But don't forget about your shipmates at sea. For the 4th year in a row, the Super Bowl will be brought to the fleet through compressed video.
They beam that up to the satellite, which is received down at the ship through the MRSAT terminal on the International Maritime Satellite. And they take it and we split it from there and run it through our compressed video equipment through a modem and a decoder, and we tie that into the sight system, and that's broadcast throughout the ship. 8
lucky ships will see the kickoff at 2300 Greenwich Mean Time, January 29th, for the 29th Super Bowl. They include USS Shenandoah, Nassau, Halliburton, Gettysburg, Anzio, Essex, Vandergrift, and USS David R. Ray. Most of the sailors on these ships will root for one team or the other. But whether you're a Niners fan,
the game's over, mail it, sign it, seal it, and deliver it. See you in Miami.
Or a Chargers fan,
they're just going to flatten them. They're going to roll over them.
This year's game is bound to be a good one. Petty Officer Mark Kane, Washington.
So, Chief, are you planning to watch the game?
Yeah, I guess so. You know, of course, my Dallas Cowboys are not going to be in there, and they are the best team in the league. Champions always, even though they couldn't beat the 49ers.
No.
If your ship isn't scheduled to get the game live, you'll still have a chance to see it. Navy Fleet support detachments around the world will be mailing the game out to deployed ships as soon as the game's over.
Well, when we come back, being deployed doesn't mean you can't send flowers to me or, well, don't send any to him. You know, your loved ones this Valentine's Day. We'll show you how.
It's pretty easy, and kids in Yokosuka, Japan take safety into their own hands. We'll have a special report.
Stay with us.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
When I grow up, I want the air to be clean and everyone to love each other. And I want everyone to be healthy so they live to be very, very old.
Many people have joined in the fight against HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, and progress is being made. But the disease is still spreading, and only you can stop it. Only you have the power to prevent it from happening to you. Are we all going to fight, or are we just going to let the disease spread further?
I just want to grow up in a better world.
Learn how you can prevent HIV infection.
That way the job will get done quicker, we'll save time, and we won't get in each other's way.
Look, I've been here for 2 years, and we've never done it that way.
It's a good idea. I'm going to take it up the chain of command.
Chief won't go for it.
Chief won't go for what?
Well, Chief, if we combine the two teams and the equipment, both grinders working side by side, we wouldn't get in each other's way. One team wouldn't mess up the other one's paint job. Working as one team, the job would get done faster.
We've never done it that way. But it's worth a try. Good suggestion, Parks.
Whoa, he went for it.
I can make a difference.
Welcome back to Navy Marine Corps News. And Valentine's Day is an important time of year for love-struck sailors and Marines wishing to send a special message to their sweethearts.
And as Petty Officer Diane Miller reports, now even if you're at sea, you can send flowers on Valentine's Day.
I want flowers. I want candy. I want flowers and candy.
And I want it all.
With Valentine's Day right around the corner, are you thinking about what's available to give your sweetheart? Well, you should. The Navy Exchange is here to help those who are procrastinating.
For the sailors that are out at sea, we've got worldwide delivery set up for them. They've been giving special price lists. We're doing all the Valentine specials for them, roses, plants, anything that they need we can get for them.
So now that you know you can be saved by the Navy Exchange, here's what they have available. Everything from flowers and gifts to candy and, of course, teddy bears. And for all you sailors underway, you aren't off the hook either. You can still make this Valentine's Day special.
Can I help you?
Yes, I'd like to purchase a box of candy and a dozen of roses. My wife's really gonna be proud.
The ship store acts as a liaison between the sailor and that sweetheart back on shore.
Any sailor can come down and for a very low price provide gifts and flowers to loved ones ashore.
What you doing?
Picking out a gift for my wife.
How come?
Because Valentine's Day is coming up and we'll be out to sea.
You know, there's ways to let them at home know that you're thinking about them, even from the sea. Orders are made by the ship via phone, fax, electronic mail, or Navy message, depending on where the ship is. So this year, you can't forget to send your love, thanks to the Navy Exchange, even if you're underway. Thanks. I love roses. For Navy Marine Corps News, I'm Petty Officer Diane Miller.
As much as Diane put herself in that story, I hope she gets those flowers.
She sure was hawking for some, wasn't she? She may get a rose or two after all of that. You know, for many families, balancing a career and a newborn baby is quite a task. After putting in a full day at work, there's diapers to change, bottles to make, and other full-time parenting jobs to do.
Well, Petty Officer Diane Jacobs tells us about a Marine Staff Sergeant who's balancing her job and not only one, but 4 babies.
By the time other members of her unit start their day, Staff Sergeant Helena de los Santos has already been up and at 'em for a couple of hours. She's the mother of quadruplets and tries hard to balance both the Marine Corps and motherhood.
Organization. At least I got it here at work.
Like a lot of new mothers, one of the things that Helena misses most about her new lifestyle is sleep.
Like I said, I take power naps and cat naps. I don't sleep anymore. They'll wake up about 1:30, and then about 3:30, 3:40, and then I'm up already by 4:40 for the day. So I really don't get too much sleep.
Even with just 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night, Helena is determined it won't interfere with her work. In fact, she views this motherhood challenge as a learning experience.
This is probably the toughest, because like I said, I really haven't been in charge of a lot of people, but I think this helps me out. It's gonna help me out manage my time better.
For Helena and Santos, being parents is almost a miracle in itself. She underwent in vitro fertilization last November.
Because the chances of it working the first time was 20%. If they implanted 4 embryos, it would be 20% with 1 child born. So they implanted 4, and I got all 4. The Marines, we get it right the first time.
Weighing between 1 and 3 pounds, the babies remained in Naval Medical Center San Diego until they were strong enough to go home. And now that they are home, Staff Sergeant De Los Santos is pulling double duty.
They all wake up one at a time, but it's like that. That's the hard part, because then they'll start crying all at the same time. Oh, no.
Fortunately, she has help. Her sister, mother-in-law, and other family members and friends have put in many hours helping out with the babies. Even with all these helping hands around, it's still challenging to do normal, routine things parents do with babies. Simple things like well-baby appointments take coordination and organization.
It's hard, very hard, very stressful. A lot of aspirins.
For now, Helena says she'll just take one day at a time and do her best to be a mother and a Marine. Petty Officer Diane Jacobs, San Diego.
Can you imagine trying to take care of 4 babies at once? It's like having a daycare in your home.
Quite a challenge. I don't think I could do it. No. Well, keeping your kids safe is always a concern for parents, and the children of sailors and Marines in Yokosuka, Japan are making safety a big part of their daily routine.
They've started a safety patrol designed to make school crosswalks safer. Special correspondent Amy Blankenship tells us more about the crosswalk safety program.
Fleet Activities Yokosuka, Japan grade school has a program to keep the kids off the streets and on the sidewalks.
patrol. It gets kids in grades 4 through 6 involved in keeping other kids safe during rush hour on their way to and from school.
We're older than they are and we're more responsible, and we don't want the kids to get hurt. And then we're going to have to call an ambulance and they're going to have to go to the hospital.
The program started 6 years ago because of accidents involving children on their way to school. Petty Officer Keith Riley of Base Security is in charge and guides the kids on the rules of the road.
When you get about 10 kids or so, then you allow them into the street, right? Okay? And the cars need to be at a good distance away.
The major goal is to keep the 1,800 kids that we have attending Sullivan School safe throughout the whole year. The kids are getting some self-esteem, some discipline, some pride, and each kid gets to school safely every day.
The number of accidents has been reduced to next to nothing since the program began.
Kids Taking Care of Kids has made Safety Patrol a success. For Navy Marine Corps News, I'm Amy Blankenship.
You know, it's great to see the kids at such a young age taking care of each other.
It really is, and it's good to get a report from someone as young as our special correspondent there. It really gives us a kid's eye view of that kind of story.
Oh, a kid's eye view.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's our show for this week. I'm Christiana Halls.
And I'm Herb Josie. We'd like to thank those of you who've taken the time to call our feedback line with your comments and suggestions.
We'll leave you this week with another look at sailors aboard USS Rainier and around the fleet as they practice firefighting and damage control. Have a great week.
Bye.